Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. That's Rez. It's Comic Roundtable. We're starting a little late, but we're here. We're here to talk some books. We flipped the imaginary three-sided coin. It came up on Marvel, so we're going to talk Marvel real quick first. Rez doesn't have any Marvel books this week. I have one Marvel book. Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel issue number 23 came out. And Red Dagger is a character, a hero that she met while she was in Pakistan. He has come to New Jersey. He is a foreign exchange student. He has to do a certain amount of immersive foreign language study to get into the university that he wants to get into. His parents allowed him to go to America, to go to Jersey, because Kamala's family will be watching over him. So they thought it would be fine in that case. So he's there. There's like a slow speeding train. There's this train that ends up being out of control. It's like going 20 miles an hour, but they have no way of stopping it because the only place there's brakes on it is with the front engine. And if they put the brakes on it, the cars in the back run it over and it causes a disaster. So it's slowly cruising through Jersey, the state of New Jersey. And they're having to like get things out of the way and knock down drawbridges and stuff like that to stop this thing on its path. Of course, she likes Red Dagger, but at the same time is feeling a bit miffed that another hero of Pakistani descent is suddenly made New Jersey home. Like she feels like, he's the new person. Everybody wants to take pictures of him. Everybody wants to know who he is. She's feeling a little out of place and a little jealous of the fact that all the attention's on him. But kind of a fun issue. It basically has largely to do with Kamala's feelings about the fact that suddenly being second fiddle in her own town where she's the star, suddenly maybe she's not the star anymore, and her kind of feelings about that. So it was a fine book. It was enjoyable. Yeah, and that's it. That's my Marvel books this week. Marvel news. The only thing I can think of is I hear that there's going to be a new Storm solo book. They're attempting to do a solo book with her again. And my understanding is that I'm going to kill his name. Coates? The guy who writes Black Panther. Oh, it's Totes? Anyway, the guy who's currently writing Black Panther is going to write it. So I am interested in that. I'll probably check that out. I like Storm. I like Storm as a character. So if they, do an attempt to do that, I'm just curious to see how well they advertise it. If they advertise it as poorly as they advertise because there's a Black Panther book. There was a Black Panther like group book, and that group book was actually canceled before even the first issue was released. So only like 2 or 3 issues actually got put out because the advanced sales on it wasn't good enough. And it's one of the things that Marvel wants to kind of say, oh, see, these kind of books aren't going to sell because people aren't buying it. And my fight back on that would be is ooh, well, you have to advertise it. If you don't advertise it, of course nobody's going to pre-order it. It shouldn't be up to the comic book shops to try and pre-sell it. Them as a company should pre-sell it too. So anyway, I'm excited for that. I'm curious to see what they might do with a Storm solo book again. So I will probably check that out because I hope that her book will be kind of do its own thing as opposed to getting tied into the giant soup that is the Marvel universe. Let's see what else. Have you watched Gifted, Rez?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah,
I plan on watching it. I just haven't got around to it.
Yeah, 2 episodes out. It's okay. Yeah, I mean it's not bad. I mean, it's fun to watch people sling powers around and whatnot. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. It could be, or it could be cool. There's some cool looking characters in it. Well, like I said, if you're into the whole power thing, whatnot. Oh, the other thing is they released the first trailer for the New Mutants. Have you seen the trailer for the New Mutants? Probably not.
I saw reactions to the first trailer.
Okay, I haven't really watched reactions. Other people were shocked to see that it was a horror movie. That it's basically being pitched as a horror movie.
Yeah, I was watching Edwin's reaction to it. I was like,
Okay.
and usually I watch the trailer and then I watch the reaction, or I'll stop. I'll pause the reaction to watch the trailer. But I don't know why I never got around to watching the actual trailer without the reaction.
And people are like, you can't make it's a superhero movie. You can't make it horror. But really, if you are familiar with the first part anyway, pre Rob Liefeld New Mutants, it is kind of horror-esque. I mean, there's a demon bear that's hunting them at one point. The art is Bill Sekowitz art, so it's it's him and his heavy inks, this kind of trippy, kind of a stuff and whatnot. So the elements are there. I mean, I don't know that it's as hardcore as what I mean, because the trailer almost makes it look like it puts them in more of a mental institute as opposed to a school for gifted students. So, I mean, I get it. It's kind of strange and whatnot, but yeah. Still, I'll be curious to see what else they do with it. So, and the first trailer, who knows if that's ultimately how the movie ends up being, sold and whatnot and spun. We'll see. At any rate, I can't think of any other Marvel type news. Want to go on and talk some indie books then?
Yeah, cool. I'm excited.
What do you want to talk about first? What you read?
This is like the book that stood out for me for this week. And it's more of it's a European comic. It's a European comic. It's in a European format, which is an album tome.
Right.
But it's considered an issue, a single issue, in their regard. But it is a book called The Undertaker. And what's great about this was actually went on Europe. It's published by Europe Comics, and they have access to the actual whole tome, like for free. You can read all the series for free, all the issues. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I didn't have to pay for anything. So I don't know if that was like a mistake or not, but I was, I somehow ran across some Europe Comics when I was in store and physically looking through them. I said, let me go ahead and look up online about Europe Comics, and I ran into the actual comics being printed online on their website, and you can actually read the whole thing that way. So that was really, really nice kind of thing to kind of get into. So if you're kind of like taking a break from comics because you're trying to save up for something, that's a really great thing to offer. But anyways, this particular story, Undertaker, what I really, really loved about it was, one, the art was freaking fantastic. The writing was fantastic along with it. The whole entire time I was enthralled. There's not one moment that I found myself tuning out and blinking out like, oh, what am I reading? It was just a really great story about this Undertaker in the Wild West. So I know you like that stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Story. So this is why I want to talk about it for sure, because I know that's your type of genre. Now, I like genres in the Western hemisphere, but I really usually kind of, they're not my favorite. But this one, it was just so wonderful. We have this character, Jonas Crow. That's his name, Jonas Crow, and he's a pretty darn good shooter. He smells bad because he doesn't take a bath regularly, but he's handsome and brooding. He decides to keep on a vulture as his pet. So and he has this wagon that's his hearse, where he performs his undertaking services. And so we start off the story where he gets a telegram from this one telegrapher guy, and the guy says, hey, I saved this message just for you. I didn't give it out to anybody else, so give me $3. And so then while they're having a conversation, there's this group of vultures just picking at this dead horse, and the guy was like, these vultures, they creep me out. How much would you charge me? How much would you charge me if I actually get rid of them? He says $3, because the guy wanted $3 for the telegram.
Right.
So he's like, well, I'll charge you $3 to get rid of the vultures. So that's like the first segue into this series, which I was like, the humor is already very cute. I like it. And and we find out the telegram is having him arrive to this town called Anoki or Anarchy. And it's like a small little blooming gold mine-ish town, you know, headed by this one very corrupt man who supposedly died. He arrives to the man's house and he's not dead. He's very well alive.
Huh.
And he lets the Undertaker know that he very well will die because he planned on taking his own life, and he wants the Undertaker to escort his body along with two of his house servants along the ride to take his body and bury it in a mine, his first mine that he discovered his first gold nugget at. So then we skip to where he's consulting with one of his house servants, which is a woman from England that he employed, and she's telling him she really honestly is against the whole idea of him killing himself, and he's telling her he frankly doesn't give a shit about what she thinks or what she wants. It's what he's gonna do, and it's just how it's gonna be. She leaves him to it. He decides to eat about 1,000. You know, back then $1,000 worth of gold is a lot, so he decides to eat $1,000 worth of gold nuggets, and he kills over and croaks. and so then we have this whole thing where we have this Chinese servant named Lin, the woman servant that didn't want him to kill himself. Her name's Rose, and we have our Jonas Crow, all, you know, trying to find their way to this gold mine. But we also find in the midst of it that he has obligated Rose and Lynn and Jonas somehow to bury his body there, because if they don't see his body to this cave, to this gold mine, there's actually a hostage being held against their will that will be murdered, and horrible things will be done to them if they don't get there in time with his body. So they have that adventure going on. We have other servants that he actually mistreated very, very badly, that find out about the gold in his stomach, and they feel like it's their gold, and you know, and they want to take it. And so we have a whole town chasing after all these three individuals, Lynn and Rose and the Undertaker, and we just see people go to great lengths to get this gold from this man's dead body and chasing him to the cave. And then is a great reveal towards the end on who the hostage actually is, which is really crazy, but really, 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 really good comic. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was just like, and I was taking my time reading it. Like I find I'm rushing through these comics to get in time to talk about it, but I wanted to marinate in this comic. I loved it. So highly recommend it. Cool, and it's free. You can look it up for free. I mean, they have it on their site, for God's sake, you know. So definitely check it out. They have, Europe Comics has a great lineup, and I actually have some other ones that I intend on looking at, peering at. But that one was a standout. The one I happened to read, and I read 2 issues of it. I loved it.
And a European one is like 60 pages. Like 3 pages worth?
Yeah, it was 60 pages. Yeah, 6 pages each. So each issue 60 pages. But I was so enthralled. So enthralled by it the whole time.
Right on.
I think you would really, really love it.
Sounds like something's right up my alley, so definitely.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, the illustrations remind me so much of, like, it's not exactly nowhere near exactly like Mobius, but in the same feel. You know, because it originated from a French comic artist, so it had that same feel that I feel when I read Blueberry. You know,
Blueberry? Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I felt like I was like, it wasn't Blueberry, not Mobius's art, but it felt like it's the same world, kind of. I don't know. It felt good. I liked it a lot.
Cool. I got it written down so I can check it out. So I won't forget. I'll check it out. Very cool. Let's see. This is probably my favorite indie book of the week.
Ooh,
was Redlands issue number 3. I've been kind of, back and forth. There's elements of Redlands I've really liked, and elements I'm like, okay, I don't quite either buy that or get it, or what's, why is that the way it is? I mean, largely because our I don't know, what I assume are the 3 main characters of the book, these 3 witches that have been in this area for quite some time. And in the first issue, they're fighting against scummy sheriff's department that and whatnot. We're like, okay, yeah, they're the clearly the witches are actually the good guys. They're just they're taking it out on, you know, these crappy law enforcement people. You know, then in the second issue, it seems to me like they sacrificed a cheerleader. Cheerleader who was kind of minding her own business. She wasn't doing anything wrong. It wasn't like she was some nasty person. She was just conveniently the innocent victim that they could take out, you know, that they could feast on or whatever. So it's like, you know, what, you know, so that kind of, you know, is interesting, but also throws me. So we get this issue. I really enjoyed this issue. To me, this issue had a lot of the fun elements that to me strike me as the kind of, I don't know if stereotypical is what he is, but the whole kind of 80s horror. You know, it's got some fun sex going on in it and whatnot. And then you have
off your part.
which one? The beginning, don't you dare stop, or the second one where the skeleton that's hanging on the rearview mirror is going woo, 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 a whole bunch.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think that second scene was the best because did you saw what she was just like? She lifted up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, girl.
Yes. Like, hello.
Yes. Yeah. Ready.
Yeah. But I just liked it because we get introduced this character. You know, we find out that he's a monster. I mean, he looks like a human, but he ends up, you know, he's like an alligator man kind of thing. I don't know. I think that kind of stuff's just really cool. I'm not sure at the end of this issue, do you think that she's not dead, is she? I mean, I know she fell in the water with the alligator.
I was hoping you could clarify for me because I read it wrong.
Well, disembodied voice is like, oh no, she's dead. And I'm like, there's no way she's dead.
Yeah.
They wouldn't bump off one of the three witches right at the 3 issues in, would they? I just can't imagine that she's dead.
You never know, man. But I was hoping that was not the case because I was honestly perplexed at that point in the story as well. And I was like, this dude.
I think either he controls the alligators or whatever, but clearly, you know, pushed it far enough that he doesn't care about keeping that guy alive.
Yeah,
and just absolutely wrecks him.
He's beyond wrecked that dude. He was like,
you know, I'm thinking though, if I was that guy after that little yippee dog,
that was crazy.
Chewed the shit out of his nether regions. I'm thinking, I don't care if I die at that point. You know, if I've got a 5-pound dog hanging off of my Johnson, I'm done. You know, it's like. But yeah, you know, I mean, so I just don't know.
I don't know either. I was confused.
Oh, well, because I mean, I'm assuming she's unconscious because he pushes her and you hear that thunk. Her head hits the side of the boat. So I don't know if that means that she's
in a coma, maybe.
You see how vicious that dog is?
Yeah. I was looking at it. I was like,
you just wouldn't want that chewed on your genitalia. Anyway,
you would you wouldn't.
But I guess I just kind of assume that. I mean, because when she's in the water, it's not like the gators are savaging her. So I don't know. I almost feel like that he's talking to them in some way, and I hope she's not dead. She's my favorite witch.
Yeah, I know, so right? So far, I like her.
Right. So
she seems passionate.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I like the issue. I like being introduced to this character and yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was fun.
I like this issue too. It was a good issue this week.
Yeah. You know, I mean, maybe it wasn't lots going on in it, enough going on. I think it's really curious that they've already caught and killed this guy we thought was gonna be like this serial killer that was gonna be messing with them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm assuming that he's dead. I mean,
they looked similar, didn't they?
Yeah.
At least.
So yeah. I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I was a lot of fun. You know, maybe it just hit all the right spots as far as the whole beginning and whatnot of it. I don't know. I thought it was fun. It was a fun issue. So definitely. What else do you want to talk about? Oh yes, Royal City.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. And I guess the alternative cover for this one, I was wrong on my when I was showing off my haul video. I think this is the alternative cover for it is the mock-up of Nirvana, right? So yeah.
Anyway, I'll say one thing that kind of bothers me because I love Nirvana so much. I'm a huge Nirvana fan, And so it's like they kind of see something so much tribute to him. And I'm like, I don't know, you know, like I'm like, I'm all for you having Tommy look like a Kurt Cobain double, sure. But then we're everything's Kurt Cobain in here, like everything. It's just like, okay, you know.
Well, so I wonder if where Jeff Lemire lived, everybody had the grunge look and whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I'm torn. You know, I just love. Like all I would do for hours, every day I would listen to every single song. My mom and my uncle, my mom just think I was so weird because like, how could you listen to that? But me and my sister, we just be jamming. We just
yeah.
So I don't know. It's like I hold a special place in my heart for Kurt Cobain and Nirvana and stuff like that. So it's like, when I read this book, I'm like, oh God, okay, what are they trying to do? You know, what's going on here? You know, are they going to depict this in a way where they're trying to make it like a Kurt Cobain story veiled under a whole family dynamic kind of story or something? I don't know. But obviously it's very different from
that
person. But I did like this issue. Very depressing. Almost triggering in a way, because it's like you have this character Tommy. We go back and back when they're all younger, Tara, Ricci, Pat, and Tommy, even the mother and the father, and we learned that the father just got a job as a foreman, and he's already not liking his job, and Tommy feels it. He really feels it. He's really empathetic to everyone, and what they got going on, and it just makes him even more bogged down and depressed and anxious to the point where his migraines are getting worse, and he has no way of controlling them. Even the medicines he's taking is not working. He tries different methods to rid himself of his migraines, which doesn't work. And he just lists the top 5 favorite albums that he loves, the top 5 musicians he loves, top 5 movies that he loves, and he finds himself jotting down this, and it just doesn't help. And we have Pat, young Pat, before he decided to become a writer. We have him working in the factory because he didn't get accepted into any universities. So he's taking that year off to work with his father. We have Ricci, just the bad boy, annoying Tara having issues with her. I guess maybe he's her boyfriend, her future husband later on in the series, I believe. Already they have issues there, which kind of it's very indicative of how their relationship is now. Like
right. I mean, this issue really does do a good job of showing you the beginning of not just the kids, everybody's problems. Yeah. The initial contact, the reinitial contact with mom and the lover that she has. He's still staying in the same damn motel after all these years. Or do they just meet there? That's my first thought. Goes, oh, right now I don't really have a place. I'm just living in the hotel. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is that the same hotel?
It's probably the way they ended off their conversation, that they were gonna hook up eventually. Like it felt so. Yeah. I mean, everything about the dialogue in this book is so natural. It feels so real life. Like like this is what happens in real life. This is how people interact. This is what happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I say it's so depressing, because it feels real. Like it feels like these people are real people. Mm-hmm. Especially Tara's marriage feels so real. Like just how tumultuous it is, and how angsty it is, and the problems that they're encountering with each other. The Ricci, he's I mean, people like that. People like Ricci. People like Tommy, who are habitually depressed, and they have no outlet. And you see them lost, and and I think now people are more aware of mental health, but I think back in that time they all saw him like, oh, Ricci, Tommy, he's just going through a little spell, whatever. They just brushed it off. And so I could see where they probably held some guilt as adults, which is why they all see him in different visions and versions of himself, because they probably harbor this guilt because they probably felt like they could have helped him in some way. They just kind of ignored him. They brushed off his migraines and brushed off his anxiety and his depression and thought, oh, he's just having a moment, whatever. Let's let him have his space. But I guarantee you that a lot of the reason why this family is broken up so much is because they all knew that they played a part in not being there for him, and his eventual demise, which is so sad, which makes it so real and, like I said, triggering in a way, because you read it and you're just like, oh my God,
right.
His family,
right. But I really like the book. I like the book because of that whole kind of real that is to it. in the conversation, like you're saying, the dialogue and whatnot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't look at the book and go, okay, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's quickly going anywhere in particular, but I don't care because I'm enjoying just getting into the characters and all of that stuff. I mean, I love that guy when no, which brother is it? The one that's at the factory and he's on his lunch break and that older guy comes to him and goes, yeah, and he's reading. What was he reading? He was reading
but yeah, he was reading.
Beckett?
But yeah.
And he's like, oh, what are you doing? You know, have you read this yet? Oh, no. You know, and he's like, oh man, you Steinbeck, right? And he's like, oh, you gotta, you know, I mean, basically this older guy recognizes this young kid, and he's like, dude, you don't want to stay here. You got to get out now. Don't stay at the factory. Don't keep working here. Just get out. Kind of a thing. And oh man, I can see that from both perspectives, being the older person that I am now. And when I was young, I worked I worked at a lumber mill. It was the same kind of thing though. You're young, you're just kind of there because it's the job at the time and whatnot. And there are older guys there who are like, oh, don't get stuck doing this, man. Go find something else in your life. I don't know. So I love that whole part of it and whatnot. And yeah. And the other part, like I said, that I really enjoyed about the book is you see the beginnings of everybody's issues. Everybody that we've been introduced to, all this entire family, even now, you can see the beginnings of why they are the way they are later on. So I'm really enjoying that. So it's it's good, lots of fun. So
I look forward to every issue, to be honest. It's like one of those books that I don't want to stop reading.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, I wasn't blown away by like the first issue. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Jeff Lemire first issue, this is just awesome. I'm like, yeah, it was okay. Whatever. What's that?
You read Essex County?
I have not.
That
yeah, I know I need to, but I haven't yet. Yeah.
I'm telling you, like that was one of the books that I read by him that I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get, because everybody was like, oh, it's so great. Oh my God, I get it. And I put it off for so long, but the moment I opened that book and I started reading it, I was like, oh, I just love it. I love it.
Yeah. And for me, I'm enjoying this because I don't feel like it has to go somewhere in particular. There are other Jeff Lemire books that I have not enjoyed because they've been short or shorter with a supposed ending that needs to happen. And that, to me, it's just come apart at this, like Trillium, for instance. It was a Vertigo book out a couple years ago.
Descender too, as well. I remember you used to pick up Descender along with me.
Yeah, and I dropped it.
Yeah,
I just wasn't enjoying it. So I'm not like blown away by Lemire. I am enjoying this book, no, for sure.
But you love Black Hammer.
Oh no, see, that's just it. That book is awesome. That book is awesome because it has the right elements in it. Clearly, Jeff was a comic book nerd as a kid. He's kind of tapped into some of that same kind of stuff that I like, and cranking out in that kind of, new take on the golden age vibe. And so that comic is awesome. But that comic to me is shocking. I don't read that comic and go, oh, that's a Jeff Lemire comic. To me, it doesn't ring like a Jeff Lemire comic. This reads like a Jeff Lemire comic.
Yeah, but you know what? This is very indicative of how multifaceted his writing is. Like how he can go from one genre to the next, and some he's so undetectable as the creator of it and writer of it, while some you could tell that's truly his heart, as somewhere where he naturally it can meld into, while other ones it's like it's someone else's voice maybe, or another creator entirely. I like that. I like that he can kind of camouflage into these different genres.
Yeah, but there's some classics of him that I need to get around to reading, older work and whatnot. Clearly, my first real experience with him was when DC started hiring him. Then I started reading more and more of his stuff and whatnot. But there's lots of stuff I need to go back and check out for sure. So
whole show.
Yeah. Let's talk kind of in the same vein, in that to me the artwork has a lot of the same similarities because it's watercolors. Is Grass Kings. And of course, this is Matt Kit written, Tyler Jenkins drawn, with another Jenkins actually doing the color work. I don't know if it's Tyler's wife. I'm guessing it's his wife. She's actually doing the watercolor work on the book. So, but anyway, it's like I said, the same sort of art style and whatnot. I'm enjoying this book. It's not moving really fast. I mean, right now they're kind of the two brothers that kind of run the Grass Kingdom are hunting around the Grass Kingdom because they think they've got a serial killer amongst them, and they finally decide, you know what, we've heard the rumors, we need to kind of figure it out whether or not it's really there or not. So that's kind of been the premise of this arc, is them doing that. And in this issue, they question a guy who looks like Travis from Taxi Cab. He's got the, from Taxi, he's got the like little short mohawk, kind of thing going on. I mean, he wears a t-shirt, and I don't know, he looks, to me, he looks, I mean, that's the first, when I see him.
Beard and glasses?
Well, no, he's not that Travis.
Okay.
But no, see, to me, he just looks like an older version of the Travis from Taxi Driver. So Robert De Niro. But so they ask him, and he, about this substitute teacher that they all thought committed suicide, but there's rumor that that maybe that wasn't the case. And they asked this guy, because this guy's lived in the kingdom longer than anybody else has, and he's like, yeah, supposedly it was this. And they go, well, you don't believe it? And but he won't tell them the story. And so they walk off, and they're like, okay, well, you can, if you ever feel like telling us, you can tell us. But then we get the story. We get a large chunk of the story. We get kind of the history of his life, his growing up, his adventures that led him to the kingdom, and some possibility of what might have happened to the substitute teacher, that maybe this guy is maybe the killer, or maybe not the serial killer, but maybe a killer in some sense. And then he goes and talks to this this other guy, and he's like, oh, we got nothing to worry about, don't worry about it. And he's got this shed, and inside the shed there are some birds of prey in there, and they're eating, and it looks like they could be eating something off of a rib cage of maybe a person. So that means, I don't know if that means there's new bodies or what, new bodies or not there, but yeah, kind of, is interesting. I'm enjoying this book. It's another book that isn't necessarily, it came out at the same time, it comes out the exact same time that the Lemire book does, the Royal City does. I go back and forth on which one I like better. This latest issue of Royal City I like better than this issue, but like I said, I'm enjoying both. I'm watching the comments, and John DaCosta Comics, he's on, and he's saying, of course, they're both Canadians, and Jenkins and Lemire are influenced by the same landscapes in Canada. Maybe that's why we're getting the kind of the look we're getting from, which makes a certain amount of sense. They're using the exact same, they're using the exact same palette as far as that kind of watercolor style and the colors that they're choosing to use and whatnot. This book is typically pretty stark, except for that page. That page is pretty well colored. But it's largely, they largely use watercolors to kind of fill in the background in kind of an impressionist kind of a way, a blob of brown to give you the idea that there's a hill back there, or that sort of a elements, whatnot. And in this comic, I really like that. I'm perfectly okay with it being stark backgrounds and whatnot. It works for, it works for this kind of thing. There's going to be a comic coming up that I will talk about that has 0 for background elements, and it doesn't work at all. So yeah. John is also saying that the trifecta is to get redneck, because it feels the same way except for vampires, and that's why I didn't get it, because I was like, I don't know that I need to read another vampire book. So that's why I didn't pick up rednecks. But at any rate, I'll actually talk about that other book that's got sparse backgrounds and whatnot, and that is Hellboy and the B.P.R.D. 1955, Occult Intelligence. The artwork is by Brian Chirilla, geez, and Dave Stewart doing the colors. And I like Brian Chirilla's art. I mean, I own some original pages of his artwork. I'm clearly a fan. I like a lot of it. He's got a kind of a cool cartoon-esque kind of a style to his work and whatnot. But this issue bugged me because, well, like even this opening page, he's fighting a mutated sea turtle. The background elements are blobs of color. I mean, this one's got a little bit back there, but it's just there's no. I like backgrounds, and if there's not going to be backgrounds, make the background stark. I don't know, just meaningless shots of color don't work for me. It really bugged me in this issue. That's not typical, of his artwork. But like this, for instance, I mean, it's just meaningless blobs of color. Well, there's a piano, kind of, but I don't know. I don't know who made the decision to make it this way, why there's so little backgrounds, or they just went, oh, I'm not going to do backgrounds. Dave Stewart, you put colors back there for backgrounds. I don't know, but that part of it, that kind of, it bugged me. I didn't like that part of the art. The characters in the foreground are fine. Everything that's in the background almost becomes disconnected from the panel on the page because of that. I mean, and there's places like here he's walking down the street that he gives it a full background and whatnot, and then as he goes along, it becomes less and less of a tangible kind of a more mere suggestions as opposed to, and I didn't care for it. Story-wise, though, I'm still enjoying it. Hellboy, the BPRD are in Australia, and they're suspicious because there's these crazy mutated monsters and whatnot, and they've had experiences from 1945 about this element that attracts these kinds of monsters or creates them. They're never sure which it is, and they find out towards the end of this issue that the Australian government is messing around with some of that stuff, which could cause them some grief. Rez, what else do you want to talk about?
Let's see. It was my funny book of the week. Where is it? Had it popped up. Here it is. Ben Temple-Smith's Mr. Wormwood.
Oh, Mr. Wormwood, right on.
A corpse. Mr. Wormwood goes to Washington. So, it wasn't like a lengthy issue this week. It just pretty much the old crew coming back trying to track down Mr. Wormwood just to find him in this odd force of some sort, killing and eating slugs and drinking their milk. And
wait, drinking their milk?
Yeah, their pus.
The slug's milk?
Yeah, the slug's pus milk or something. Yeah, it's so nasty,
Ew,
right?
okay.
About Mr. Wormwood. He's just so disgusting.
Sure.
And so we also get this cute little story about how him and his wife decided to part ways after he found out she's a soul-sucking witch of some sort. And that's why he was gone. She isolated him from his friends, his partners for years, which is why he hasn't been on the scene for such a while, which kind of explains why Wormwood just kind of disappeared, from Ben Tibble's, from his collective. We also get this little side story, which is mainly the primary story, which is why he's going to Washington. But we have like a drumped kind of character that is being given checks from lobbyists to push certain bills and certain things to be done, and then they decide to invite this president to join their special evil club, and they all throw open his mouth, and then he decides that he wants to praise their overlord, aka they're a god of some sort, and now we have Mr. Wormwood here to the rescue to set things right. Yeah, I mean, it was cute. It didn't feel like the same Mr. Wormwood that I've read back when Ben Temple-Smith started the series, but I look forward to seeing what further issues work their way into and see if it's gonna have that same feeling as the previous issues.
Sure. Because it's been a while since he put out a Wormwood book, right? I mean, it's been.
Yeah, I got all the hardcovers and the singles.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see him doing some work. I haven't seen a whole lot of Ben Templesmith here lately, so.
I mean, I have. I follow him. You know, I was donating to a lot of his Kickstarters, so he's been exclusively doing Kickstarters. And
is that how he's? Okay, that's how he's been producing it, and that's maybe why I haven't been seeing it. Okay.
Yeah, you haven't seen him because he's been doing primarily just Kickstarters, and he sells clothing and stuff like that,
right?
And all kinds of stuff and memorabilia, but his stuff is super pricey. And I'm kind of glad to see him back doing regular comics because for one, I was like, I'm not going to donate to any more. His Kickstarters are too expensive. Yeah. I mean, $70 for like a 35 page book. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's Huh. Okay. Let's see. Latest issue of The Wicked and Divine, issue 32. The shit continues to hit the fan. More bodies drop in this issue. Little godlings are going down left and right in this issue. Not exactly how I thought it might go. I think we're potentially now under half of the Pantheon is left. So all kinds of craziness. I think there's one more issue to this arc left. They found a secret room, which they did not know about, which is really interesting. I love the dialogue that's in this. Love the way it looks. I love how hip all the characters are in it. I just continue to enjoy all that. But I think there's only like a year left of this. I think they've got another year planned of the book, and I think they're ending it. So I'm curious to see how it all works out. I mean, I know that in the story itself, they're getting closer to the end of their supposedly official 2 years when they just all of a sudden cease existing. But the question is, do they actually cease existing when that 2 years hits? Because, you know, we've found out that they were helped along on their diet 2 years kind of a thing, like they were sacrificed or something. So without that person around to sacrifice them, what happens? But they're doing a pretty good job right now of killing each other. So I don't know. It'll be cool to see, or interesting to see exactly how it all plays out at the end. But I really continue to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to that next year to see, what they have for an ending. What's it supposed to all mean or tell us or whatnot. So yeah, definitely been enjoying it. What else? Got some more you want to talk about?
I don't know if you saw this, if you came across this this one, but it's Donny Cates' Tomahawk from the.
Yeah, see, I didn't pick that up. I part of me kind of wishes I had after I saw everybody else and in their poll. I'm like, oh, I should have got that. The physical copy of it looks like it's the Golden Age size. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider than the regular comic. Sometimes that annoys me because it doesn't fit in my bags the right way and whatnot. But so how was it? How was this Donny Cates? He seems to be everywhere now. All of a sudden, he's writing like all the books, right?
Oh no, right? That's what I was gonna say. I was like, he just So this was originally published in Heavy Metal. Like
was it? Okay.
Story, and you have Heavy Metal magazine, and the newest rendition of Heavy Metal with Grant Morrison heading heading it as the editor. So I was familiar with that Atomic Hawk from that. And this zero issue is pretty much just little vignettes, little chapters, like small. I would even call them chapters, but more they're labeling them as chapters within a book, about 3 of them. But they're vignettes of what this Tomahawk story is. We're dealing with a I think what's it called? He's called a cybernetic robot of some sort, where his body was destroyed and his being was forged into this body by this god that he continuously tries to find information for and about, so he can find him and track him down, because he is being held somewhere, and he has the Tomahawk, which is his transport, provides him with this energy, this endless energy, and fuels his sword, and fuels his body so that he can become more and more invincible of sorts. So he's able to defeat tons and tons of people and different beings and stuff. It's pretty cool. When I read it in Heavy Metal, I didn't see how it could be made into really a series. It reminds me so much of that one who was it? It was about beer. What was it? Alpha Kings. They remind me so much of Alpha Kings.
Oh,
Which also was kind of heavy metal-ish, you know. And so when I read this to Tomahawk, it feels like a small heavy metal story, like when I read it. And then it even had a chapter called Heavy Metal, but metal was spelled Mettle. And I like that. I was like, okay, I see what they're, you know, they want to play homage to how it originally was in the heavy metal magazine. But I don't know. It was cute. But I can't see myself picking this up.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that with it having been a heavy metal thing. So from a business standpoint of comics, so the money must be at Image.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to keep putting it out in the heavy metal.
I like this. Some things just for me is better in the heavy metal magazine, the format of it, you know. Like for instance, Hoax Hunters, you know, was a heavy metal comic, The Doorman. I loved all that with heavy metal. It just had a different feel. Like I feel like I was getting something truly unique. But when once it goes to Image, I feel like it's a little too big, a little too mainstream.
And so you like reading because heavy metal's kind of an anthology kind of a format, right? You're reading little pieces of it, and then the next mag you get more little pieces of each one. So you're not sitting down to consume large part. So do you think they're writing that stuff and creating it on a much smaller format, or are they writing it big and then chopping it up? So
that's the thing, they're chopping it up. It was chopped up in little, like I said, vignette chapters. And it didn't feel like a whole cohesive story, but it is issue 0. So in that regard, I can see where it's not going to be a whole story. They just want us to introduce us to this character.
So what was in this 0 issue? Was this the exact same stuff that was printed in the heavy metal? Just reprinted?
It felt like I believe it was a reprint. Yeah. Stuff. I have to dig out that issue. I have to dig out those issues where Tomahawk was in it, but it felt very familiar when I was reading it. I was like, oh, this feels like, and they actually even added, like midway through the book, they showed tattoos of people had gotten of their Tomahawk characters.
Okay.
So like, it's like a little cult classic of sorts.
Sure. Well, that's what keeps an indie book going. You get a small group of people who are willing to buy all the singles and whatnot, and that keeps it afloat long enough to get a trade out, and then you hope you make your money on the trade. I think is what a lot of it is. So you build that small little, following of people that, well, smallish enough that keeps you afloat till you can get to the trades, and the trades is where the money's at. I think is how that works. That's interesting though, because he took another book, right? He took the Paybacks, which was a Dark Horse comic, and took it to heavy metal for the next arc before it ended, kind of a thing. And now an entire Paybacks is being reprinted. The entire run, all one thing. Is Dark Horse the one that's printing the whole thing?
Yeah, because Dark Horse did. It was one volume with heavy metal, and the other volume was with Dark Horse.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He seems to do that. He seems to obviously have a good working relationship with heavy metal. But my curiosity is, why does it tend to not stay with heavy metal? I mean, obviously funds may be involved.
Right. That would be my guess. Fun and exposure. I don't know what kind of a circulation heavy metal really has.
Heavy metal has its own fan base as well. You mean I'm a huge
well, right. Well, definitely there's people who buy heavy metal because it's heavy metal, not because of a particular content that's in it, but that just that it's that. Yeah.
I mean, Image, same thing too. People are like, oh, Image, okay, I know it's gonna be a good indie book because they put it out otherwise, So.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. Okay, let's see. Briefly talk some retcon issue number 2. Did you read issue number 2?
I did.
So issue number 2, I guess I did. I thought the book was going to be different. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So because I got the impression that each issue they were going to try and tell it completely differently than the last one, and kind of and retcon the story as in, okay, this was the story we told you. No, now this is the story we're telling you, which isn't the case. It's just kind of going on. It's going on in a linear fashion as far as what happened. So our main character, this guy who's got a demon inside of him, a female demon, that gives him giant arms that he can beat people up with and whatnot. He's been captured by the police after this massacre at the AA meeting. These policemen are going to basically, beat him and kill him. They think he's a terrorist. They're like 9/11 survivors, or their friends died during 9/11, so they extra hate terrorists. They're gonna beat him up, and he keeps telling them, "Look, if you don't do something, if you don't like get me out of here, they're coming and they're gonna kill the entire block. They're gonna kill everybody in the entire city block." Not and they don't believe him to start out with. So they're sneaking him out, kind of sneaking him out of the police station so they can take him someplace. And basically, I'm assuming beat him to death. And while they're hauling him away, the government does come and blow up this whole city block. The other part of the story we get at the very beginning, we get this other character who's like the general that's in charge of this kind of paranormal group. And he's got like a ghosty cybernetic leg and a ghosty cybernetic arm that he can click on. And it seems like he is possessed also, like his robot. He's got like a robot eyeball, and it's like making him do other things. Like maybe that's not what he wanted to do. The robot eyeball is taking control and stuff. So I like it for the art. I love the kind of weird, Toby Cypress, art and whatnot that's in it. I enjoy it for that. I like paranormal stuff too, so I'm along for the story. It's not anything really deep or anything. It just kind of one weird antic after another as far as that kind of stuff goes. But I'm still enjoying it I think it's only like 4 issues or 6 at most. So for me, that's enough that it doesn't have to be deeply plotted if I'm getting kind of the fun art and some, crazy explosions and punching people in the face and weird stuff like that. So I'm having fun with it.
I didn't like this issue.
Yeah.
It was confusing in parts. It was like I know the guy was obviously having malfunctioning to some degree.
Right.
He was just a robot. I think the moments where he was in interrogation, we had the one demon guy interrogation, and the people putting their hands on him and him telling him, "I'm tired of you hitting me,
Right.
You need to do something." That whole before, was just moments when they were attacking him. I was kind of figuring out like why again are they hitting him? Like why aren't they just listening to him? I don't know. It's frustration more so, I guess.
Right. Right. We were supposed to simply buy into the fact that these New York policemen, this guy's pulling they keep calling him a terrorist. They see him as a terrorist, and he pulls up his sleeves and you get the whole, 2 burning towers, the whole 9/11 thing. So he says the whole, we lost good men to terrorists on 9/11. We're going to show you what we do to terrorists, Him and his buddies come in with the duct tape and the handcuffs. They're going to haul him off and beat him somewhere. I mean, yeah, that seems somewhat fictional that the New York police would be that extreme.
I guess a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, but
but then again, I guess I can't expect too much of it. I mean, there is a guy who has a demon inside of him that gives him powers, and he flies. So
right. Well, and one of the things that's fun is he takes all this random crap that's sitting on the table where he's interrogated at. He scoops it all up and he turns it into a pair of glasses so he can see better, kind of a thing. I mean, it's like a Gatorade bottle, a coffee mug, some markers, a stapler, and a little clippy thing. And he turns them into a pair of glasses and goes, "See, I'm telling you the truth. I can do all this weird stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yeah.
we've seen David Blaine, a trick's a trick, kind of thing. And they haul him off.
Yeah.
The whole weird thing is they're hauling him out of the place and they're telling the guy that's in charge of the police department is like, "Hey, you can't treat this guy this way." And he's like, "Oh, the guy's got Ebola. We got to get him out of here because he's got Ebola." And he's like, "What? If he's got Ebola, you got to, gotta seal him off somewhere and call the CDC and call the hospitals and blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "No, we've got this other bomber." There's a lot of randomness in there that I don't know what was the point of that. Those elements of the story, if I want to pick on the stuff there's those kind of elements like, okay, what was the point of that? I don't know. There really wasn't one, but like I said, for me, I like the kooky art, the colors, the style of it, whatnot. I'm a, like I said, I'm a Toby Cypress fan. I'll read whatever it is he's doing just because I like
the art. The art's good. The writing for me.
Right. Sure.
It's tripping me up a little bit.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any others you want to talk about?
Let's see. There was this one called The Family Trade by Justin Jordan.
Oh yeah, how was that?
It was a book I was talking about last time. It was about a girl who was underwater girl. You remember that one comic where she was pretty much trying to bring resources, like trying to bring it down to where the people from the bottom will be, living more like people on top. Her mom was. It reminded me so much of that story, but this deals with like families that are part of clans that will by any means bring down other families that do things that they're not supposed to do, or are brought to power that are not supposed to be brought to power. It was okay. I don't know. I just feel like because I've read it before. I feel like I've read it before. I've seen them before. The illustrations didn't really match well with the story. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get it because it's a Justin Jordan story. Clearly nothing against the guy personally. Everything of his that I've read, I don't feel like anything lands very well. When it comes to the ending. The ending always is disappointing enough that I've gotten to the point now where I don't want to get books, or I'll get 3 issues in and decide I really am not enjoying it. It just does not punch any buttons. I mean, he wrote the Savage Things that was the Vertigo book. And I didn't really, I mean, the ending of it was kind of, whatever, as far as that goes. So what's that?
Already first issue in, I'm already like, who cares, Right.
And so that's why I didn't pick it up. I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be that, interested in it as far as that kind of thing goes. So I didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel bad.
I don't feel bad at all myself. I was like, okay.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
But I read it, and I feel like I should have been moved on to another book after reading that.
Okay. Let's see. Read the latest issue of Black Science, issue number 32. Continues to be good stuff. We get some. We find out some more kind of secrets about Kandar. And Grant's ex-wife is now learning those secrets about him too, that really she shouldn't have been hooked up with him, that he's actually from another dimension, and they've kind of screwed things even worse than what Grant has screwed things up and stuff. Pia figures out how to kick off this machine that zaps most of the brain-eating symbiote worm things that have been kind of infesting all of the different dimensions. So now they're down to just the physical these physical lizard man worm critters that they've got to beat off somehow. So look forward to that in it and whatnot. This continues to be great. The Matteo Scalera art is just cool. That's the reason to read the book, largely as far as I'm concerned. But I really dig it. There's some good story elements in it. Some more, stuff is coming together in it that's interesting. We get to see a little more kind of back history as to Grant as a kid, and that he was always, mumbling, always messing with stuff, and everything's really, he has been so self-centered. I mean, like even at like 9 or 10 years old, everything was about him and not anybody else, kind of stuff and whatnot. So we see just where he is, and the current Grant adult seems to have maybe, turned over a new leaf. We'll see if that really holds true, or if he, once things quit being quite so crazy, that he goes back to it being about him again. But like I said, the art is just really cool. Here's the machine going off that's zapping everybody, killing all the symbiotic worms in everybody's heads and whatnot. Just really, really great artwork. Good stuff. Continue to be a fun book. I just really enjoy Black Science, always have. So fun stuff. What else? Any other books?
I missed that book. I mean, I haven't got. I only pick it up in trade. So
right. I'm sure it reads excellent in trade.
It does.
Yeah.
Love me some Black Science.
Cool. Anything else?
No other indie books. Nope.
The only other one the other one picked up was Birthright. It's issue 27. We get, so we've got like a hit squad that mercenaries that have shown up. They're on the train as our family is heading up to the very far reaches of Scotland, because there's supposed to be some magic place there that they can go and deal with this, help, protect themselves from lore and whatever has been released into our world, the typical world of Earth. And they're also hoping to get help for Mikey, who of course has kind of sold his soul over to the evil King Lore at some point. While these mercenaries are kind of working their way around the train to try and find out what's going on and who they need to take out and how they need to do it, we get some more back history. We get to live the experience of Mikey getting into Lore's throne room and supposedly fighting Lore and then getting defeated by Lore. We get to see a large chunk of that in here because Mikey's grandfather is trying to break the nightmare that's inside of him out. And by the end of this, he discovers that it's not the nightmare that's keeping Mikey locked in his head. Mikey's keeping himself locked in his head. He does not want people to see what actually transpired to make him take on this nightmare monster and work for the evil king. So we're getting a little closer to that though, which is really cool. And for me, I always keep saying the Brenson art is just really awesome in this book. Really love it. Love the way it looks. Love his style of work. So good stuff. Continue to enjoy it, even for a fantasy novel. So since I'm not big on the fantasy comic books anymore, but
yeah, you're still reading Rick Remender's
7 to Eternity. That's the other one I am getting. Yeah, and I'm enjoying that. Also. I think largely for the apparel art. Yeah. I mean, because the story is, large portions of it are relatively the standard kind of tropes. The adventurers trying to fight the evil king kind of stuff. So I mean, it has some of the stereotypical tropes, and I've just, from years of being a fantasy geek as a kid, so much of that stuff just feels like it's the same. So there's got to be some other element to it that makes me really excited about it. It's the art for both these books that make me really excited about them. So yeah. So I don't know of any indie news. I mean, I haven't heard, oh my gosh, there's these new indie books that are coming out that we should be picking up or whatever. But you got anything?
For DC?
No, for indie books, as far as any news type stuff. None? Yeah.
Oh, news. Let's see. It was something I should have screenshotted it. Oh well. I know it was a comic book. It was like a TV show that they were making into a comic book. But yeah. Oh well.
Oh really? Oh.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
Okay. So let's roll on to some DC. Yeah. Want to talk about the one DC book you got?
Yeah, the one. Yeah.
Right? So Michael Cray, the first spin-off from the Wildstorm stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I would have honestly preferred to learn more about that robot girl, the one who can go through make up different portals, and I find her more interesting than Michael Cray, to be quite honest.
Sure.
I don't know. I like the idea that they're trying to put him to the forefront and give him the first spin-off, but he's not that intriguing of a character in the first place for me. Like, yeah, I want to know why he's able to touch things and kill it with his fingers. Like, why is he broken in that way?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I don't know, his moral, all these moral conundrums that he has. I just don't. I feel like I've seen this character so many times before. How many times can I find one of these ones tousling with what's morally right and what's morally corrupt? Oh, whatever.
Yeah, there are some good lines in here that I think are funny. Like the blonde woman's like, you gotta pick a team. Just pick a team here and pick a team. And he's like, okay, well, I want a sexy ninja and a furry sidekick. I mean, to me that was funny. I was laughing for that part just because he's like, I don't want a team. So he's like picking the most ridiculous thing he can possibly come up with. This is what I want my team to be. And she's like, and she's basically like, quit being a moron and don't be that cliche-ish guy that says, I work alone. No, get a team and do the work. This is the people we want you to kill. I think it's strange that they're having him they want him to kill Oliver North, which is Green Arrow. And he is, I mean, he is kind of a Green Arrow character in this, but clearly this is a different reality, because that's not the Ollie that's operating in the proper DC universe. You know, he is a guy who was stuck on an island. You know, he survived the island, but he's this crazy kind of millionaire that buys island retreats, and he has a secret island of his own that he puts veterans in and kills them, hunts them down and whatnot. But you're right. Nothing in this, outside of him touching the mouse and obliterating the mouse, nothing in this is not just stereotypical, any kind of hitman that we're supposed to be invested in because he has some sort of moral code, right?
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. I mean, I'm going to get it anyway. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely going to read it, at least the first, few issues to see if we suddenly get more, if it becomes something more than that. Because I'm assuming we've kind of set this up. I'm hoping we don't waste a lot of time on this whole, hunt the Green Arrow, hunt, Ollie down kind of a thing. I hope that's just a kind of a Kickstarter to get the thing going. Because I was hoping that he would be dealing with the kind of the weird, right? The whole, these other scientific groups that are out there that are actually running the world.
I thought so too. But that was a weird first mission to kind of set the book off with him taking down. Because that's the first thing I thought. Like, is this Green Arrow? Like, what's going on here?
Right. I mean, I appreciate the opening sequence where, his dad is telling him when he's a little kid, this is how you have to think, this is how you have to be.
Yeah.
That part was great. But then after that, it's like, yeah, okay, this guy's kind of stereotypical. And how is this a Wildstorm book? That's the part that gets me. Wildstorm's clearly the main book. It's clearly its own book. It's got its own thing going on. It's got this kind of, whatever. And I understand that Ellis is not writing this. It's written by somebody else. But you'd think it would still have those kinds of elements. And so far, there aren't. So that, to me, is the downfall of the book. It doesn't have the Wildstorm elements in it that I was expecting for it to have. So, yeah. Let's see. I'm going to talk about Ragman, issue number 1 of 6 miniseries here, written by Ray Fox, artwork by Miranda. I'm a huge fan of Miranda's artwork, with De La Cruz doing the colors on that. That's typically the colorist that works with this artist. I've liked them clear back from Coffin Hill, a Vertigo book that I really enjoyed a lot. I like the reimagining history of Ragman in this book just fine. They've modernized him instead of him being kind of an ancient suit of magical rags that have been handed down. It's now they're in the Middle East. There's some military guys. They're kind of doing on the side, let's go steal some gold from the Jews. Kind of a thing is what these guys are up to. They break into a vault. They're about ready to snatch up whatever the gold is that's inside this container. They think they're going to get rich. They get attacked by some supernatural Middle Eastern dressed people. They all get killed except for our main character. And he ends up being saved by the suit. And now the suit's kind of possessed him. He's starting to learn about the suit. The one thing I don't like about it is I don't like the redesign of Ragman. I like the old some rags, a big cloak, a big hooded cloak, and that's what it is. Now he's more like the Mummy. Is how he is. Is how he is now, and I'm not real keen on that. His suit lashes out like tentacles. It's closer to the TV show, because he's on Arrow a little bit. And so it's closer to that. The rags lash out and wrap around things like tentacles and stuff. And I'm not real keen on that. I'm trying to find a clear picture. So here he is up at the top. He's slowly coming down from a building, being suspended by the rags. They're like tendrils. And the tendrils actually grab a hold of this demon thing and pitch it up into the air and basically kind of eat his soul, absorb him. But I like the story. I like the characters. I like the art. I like the traditional Ragman look versus this new look. I'm not keen on this this being Ragman. So, but I liked everything else about it. So I'll, you know, 6 issues. I'll keep reading, you know, to read the story. I'm enjoying it from that part of it. I just, like I said, I wish it looked more like the old weird green Ragman. So
I started trying to read it, but I was like, yeah, never mind. Because I thought it looked like it was going to be a story about the mummy, and I was like, yeah.
Right. And it's not exactly, but it definitely has that look to it. So that's the important part. So John's asking if you missed anything, and you didn't really, John. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I do like the art, but I really rather it been the old school. And it's just basically, it's right at this point, it's a reimagination of the origin of the character and moving him forward. But it really does have a lot of hallmarks that they pulled from the TV show. So that's the downside to it. Yeah, sure. Let's see. Talk a little Wonder Woman, issue number 32, the second issue of the Robinson written arc of this, the Children of Gods. Some things that bug me. Steve Trevor calls Wonder Woman Angel all the time in this. I get it's a term of endearment. They are a couple in some fashion or other. It just bugs me. It just does. It's like, it's just, I don't know. But then I'm not a big.
It's annoying, right?
Yes.
Like,
I guess I don't think it's. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it doesn't feel respectful enough. I guess so. Yeah. So that bugs me. I think it's interesting that this writer, she calls Steve Trevor. She calls him Steve, but for the last 30 issues, she has always called him Steven. So it's really strange to have this writer, you know, not continue to use the same diction and vocabulary that the prior writers have as far as those kinds of elements. So kind of it throws it off. It suddenly makes it seem like the relationship might be different or something. But in this issue, we find out that she has a twin brother. She goes, you know, to someplace in Greece and finds this twin brother, which annoys me to no end because that makes Wonder Woman even less unique and less her own character because she has literally a twin brother. I mean, and he looks like her, except he's a he named Jason after Jason and the Argonauts. So I just don't, it's not poorly written. It's not poorly drawn, but I just don't like the ideas. I don't like the ideas that are being floated in it as far as that goes. So I don't know. I think it lessens the character, and they should be building the character up to be her own, whatever. Unless they surprise me somewhere in this story arc and they make, you know, he's not really, you know, your twin brother or whatever. I don't know. But we'll see. Not terribly impressed with that. So Red Hood and the Outlaws. In this issue, they bump heads with the crew from Detective Comics because, of course, Bizarro has created this like secret base that's invisible, floating over the top of Gotham. The crew from Detective Comics finds it, or at least has an image of it. They can kind of see where it's kind of at, even though it's invisible. They're sent a message from the Bizarro's thing saying, hey, you know, if you're costume vigilantes, go home. You know, there's no reason for you to be here. We're going to fix everything. Your job is done. Of course, the crew for Detective Comics takes offense to that. So they show up, they capture Bizarro. They get into fisticuffs with the rest of the outlaws. We find out that Bizarro is somehow manipulating all this stuff to happen. He's slowly losing his super intelligence, and he's losing it in fits and whatnot. It's like he starts to lose it, and he kind of pounds it back. But clearly he's going to come apart at the seams at some point. But Bizarro's kind of manipulating things at this point. We don't know exactly what it is, but we know it's happening. So that's kind of curious to see how that aspect of it really plays out. It was a decent issue. I continue to think Red Hood and the Outlaws has been some fun. Going from that, then into the actual detective book. And surprisingly, with this being a Tim Drake focused book, and I am not a Tim Drake fan, I actually enjoyed this issue. quite a bit, because we get this kind of this Batman from the future, or an alternate future, and this Batman that's an alternate future is Tim Drake. He's Batman. He uses a gun. He's shooting kryptonite bullets at Doomsday in this. He basically kind of gives the younger Tim Drake the what for all for, look, you knew this was going to happen, kind of thing and whatnot. You're so Mr. Smarty Pants that you knew you're the only person that can really fill the shoes, and some of those elements. And it's like, I kind of liked some of that storytelling that was in it. Clearly this Batman is from the future that was hinted at in the one issue of that weird issue of Batwoman that was, or maybe it was Detective, that was, hey, we're going to tell the story much later, that I was annoyed about. So we're getting some of those kinds of elements in this. So that's kind of cool, whatnot. So it was for a Tim Drake centric issue. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. So
that Batman book up. How's Stephanie doing?
She's not in this issue at all. The last arc kind of was around her in a way. It was okay. I don't think they're taking the story as far as what they should. But we'll see. Now it's focused on Tim Drake and him getting himself out of the Mr. Oz trap that he's in. And, he's come back to supposedly our reality. So now that he's back, we'll see what happens as far as, Steffi finds out he's alive. Does she change her attitudes about, because right now she's kind of like, I don't want to do things the Batman way, kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens when how that all pans out and whatnot. So, yeah. I see in the comments that, that Edwards, he's saying that he liked Ragman. So, Ed, if you're still here, you liked Ragman. I didn't dislike the issue. Do you like the new costume versus the old costume? I mean, that's my only real beef with it, is it that I don't like the mummy costume with the tendrils that are like from the TV show, I guess. So I'm curious to see if you can comment in the comments and let us know which it is on that. The other book I really want to talk about is Mr. Miracle, issue number 3. I just really like this book. Can't necessarily tell you exactly where it's going and whatnot. There's just all these kind of odd moments. We have our main character, Mr. Miracle, Scott Free, who's clearly on the verge of some sort of a mental breakdown. There's a war going on between dark side forces and the other Fourth World forces. In this issue, the High Father, who's Orion, is he's going on the offensive. They think that Darkseid's weak right now and they should be attacking. They're pulling in all their generals. Scott's kind of in conflict with kind of what's going on. Bug shows up in this issue. The Forager shows up in this issue, kind of begging Scott to maybe take over. They actually come and eliminate the Bug for breaking protocol or something like that. I don't know exactly what's going on in the book. I just love it. Because I can just feel a buildup. I know there's going to be some special stuff that's happening in it later on, and I just like all those things about it. I just am really tickled to read it. Just all the kind of weird stuff that's happening at the little things that I are going to harken back to other stuff, whatnot. It has elements of the Vision. I feel like it also has lots of elements that are like Sheriff of Babylon, where it's layer upon layer upon layer, and I know that there's gonna be some heavy hitting is gonna start coming in at some point here. So I'm enjoying the build up for that. So, and I love this cover. Just cracks me up with him wearing the Batman shirt and stuff. So yeah, good stuff. And that's really it for me for comics. I don't know of any particular DC news and whatnot. I know that the show is lacking because we're not picking up all those metal books that are coming out every week. I think there's new, the metal series and whatnot. Just not interested and happy to not be picking it up, I think, at this point. So yeah. Like I said, I'm not aware of any news kind of stuff. Anything else we want to talk about?
I don't have any news.
No? Okay. Well, I guess that's it. We'll keep it short and sweet this week. Thanks for coming and talking books with me, Rez.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for those people who were in the comments. Always appreciated. Hi, Sarah. I hear Sarah's on or briefly on at some point. Cool. Thanks, everybody who watches this after the fact. Always appreciate it. If you comment, that's great, too. What's going on with you? Clearly, we had to have missed books this week. What books were those? What were we crazy that we didn't pick up this week that was just special that we should be picking up? Yeah. Let us know. Anyway, have a great night, and we'll probably be back next week.
Yay!